Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rock and Roll Union Streamcast. I'm CT as always. Uh, really excited to introduce a new member to the Rock and Roll Union family this evening. But before that, quick shout out to our sponsor, Rosenfeld Dental Associates, located at 1095 Inman Avenue in Edison, New Jersey. Go rock your smile with the Rock Doc David Rosenfeld, nominated one of Jersey's top dentists in 2023. Really hyped to all the good stuff that's going on at Rock and Roll Union. Don't forget to pick up your tickets for our 5th anniversary bash, which takes place April 8th at the Union Fire Hall, Mount Holly, New Jersey, starring Geffen recording artist Sick Vicky, along with Carte Blanche and Scorpio kicking off the show. And if you didn't get the chance to check out this month's Rock Debate Club #2, go back and do that. We did Metallica versus Megadeth. Great show. That was really a lot of fun. And if you didn't get the chance to check out our show last week with venue owner Mark Azzello from Halftime over in Newark, Delaware, make sure you do that as well. Tonight, my guests, man, they've had over 30,000 Spotify monthly listeners. They are a really cool, groove-driven. I want to say they're a mix between punk and metal, and really good guys. Let me introduce Jake from.
Hello.
Here is Jake. Just wanted to talk a lot about going off, the band going off. And we talked a little bit before we came on the air. You guys have kind of the baby of that whole COVID era. You guys kind of came out about that same time period. But, dude, I wanted to ask, what do you – some people don't like classifying their sound. What would you guys say you are?
I would say we are heavy, hardcore punk. I like,
Okay.
or as you said, quite like heavy metal punk.
Yeah.
There's definitely a metallic element to our sound.
Man, I gotta say that you go from some songs where it's like doom metal groove, like groove doom metal type vibe, to some of the punk vibe, some of the old school political thing mixed in, man. And as far as going off is concerned, I've listened to a lot of the music that you guys have on Spotify, and gotta say, man, like I was really taken aback that like some of your albums were like 11 minutes long. I'm like, man, these guys are quick to the point, and like the two latest singles are a little bit longer than what you guys were putting out there for a minute. Do you feel yourself leaning towards a little bit longer now?
No. I think the longer elements came more so from like ringing out. Say like a song will finish, but realistically then there might be like 30-40 seconds of like ambient noise or maybe a sample. Our songs, I think the album probably clocks in at about 22 minutes, and that is, I want to say 11 or 12 songs. I think it might be 11. So that's quite long for us, yeah. But no, I think it's more so just the transition between songs. I think we're writing new music now, and we've just recorded some more music, and it is short, sweet, and to the point.
So let me ask you, between the two EPs, you guys released two EPs so far, and you got What Makes You Tick coming out on the 24th. Is anything from those EPs on the What Makes You Tick album? Is it stuff that we've heard before, or is it brand new material?
It is. It's kind of new. There's 4 songs that have been on a live demo that we've done before. So we basically made the choice to take those live songs and put those, like, make studio versions of them, which I'm super glad we did, because one of the singles we did from the album recently, called Self Hatred, that was one of the songs that was on like a live demo, and the live stuff just didn't really do it justice. Like having a studio version is much better. So yeah, no, it's all new stuff, but people will have heard it maybe live before. It's not new to us. It was recorded back in July, August last year, and now it's seeing the light of day finally. So yeah, it's going to be, a lot of it's going to be new to most people. There's no songs from any of the demos or EPs. No.
Gotcha. So, looking a little bit online at like different profiles for you guys, they say your main sound is talks of self-destruction, both physically, mentally, from PTSD, self-starvation, addiction, a lot of heavy concepts, a lot of heavy feelings going on in those songs. Is that something
Yeah.
that comes out of you guys naturally?
For the EP Destroy, yeah, especially with that was the one we did in lockdown, and I think for me personally, lyrically, through that, I was kind of finding catharsis through my writing, and I find that I was quite often writing about some things for myself, and then I was like, you know what, I want to write about different forms of destruction, be it physical, mental, um, and then that was just for Destroy, the EP, the second EP we did. There are still songs now on the album, like the track I just told you about, Self Hatred. There are some quite self-reflecting songs that are about mental health or issues and whatnot, but there's also there's much more variation now. I can't just stick to just the destructive side of things. I feel like in my writing now, there's some positive messages, there's some negative messages. Going Off is a band that, for me especially, is a platform for me to scream about the things I want to shout about, and hopefully it's something that people can get behind too.
Now, something that I love talking about because I can't wrap my mind around how some of you guys make those the guttural sounds, the guttural vocals. I mean, there is a flair to that. There is a skill to that. For people that aren't familiar with this style of music, that think people are just screaming or just doing something off the top of their head, there is a
Yeah,
skill to this. Like, how long have you trained your voice to be able to do what you do?
I think it's taken years of damaging my voice, and never warming up, and it was a long process, really. I've been in several different bands over the years, and I started off trying to sing. I was trying to be the singer of a band, uh, and I was in a band with another vocalist who was the screamer, and then eventually I ended up being asked to step up to be vocalist in a band just as the front man. And they were like, "Look, it's singing and screaming. Are you comfortable doing that?" I was like, "Well, wasn't gonna say no. It was a good
Right.
opportunity." So that was the start of me trying to figure it out for myself. And I can honestly say that only really now, after about 6, 7 years of performing music or being a frontman, only now am I really finding my comfort zone. I've really found my like the area or the spot that just sits right for me. I could scream all day, scream all night, and have a perfect voice the next day because I've found what doesn't damage myself.
Gotcha.
It's taken years, but it's something that I feel like anyone could learn. It's if you get the right advice. I think everybody thinks that doing heavy vocals requires straining yourself and really forcing it. And I remember watching a video of Nails play live, and I was watching the vocalist, and he was playing guitar and he was doing vocals, and I was like, man, this guy sounds powerful. But he was kind of like just relaxed playing, and he was just obviously like the microphone's just here. He was like, all you got to do is like project your voice to that microphone and let the speakers do the rest. So I've kind of like always kept that in mind. Started to kind of, I don't force it. I find a comfortable spot and I find my tone, and it works.
I mean, and that is a great point because a lot of people that are trained singers, and I've gone through vocal lessons myself, is
Yeah.
they try to teach you to project to the back of the room, but when you got
Mm.
that mic standing 6 inches from your face, that has all the equipment to get that vocal out,
You
it
just need
does
it to,
make a lot of sense to do what you said and just kind of project to that mic.
yeah, you've got to find a happy medium. I feel like you need enough force to push past the vocal cords. You need to make sure you're doing it from your diaphragm. And like I say, it's been a long journey for me, but I feel like finally now I've found the spot that really works. We've been recording new music recently, and I've just been able to go into the studio, find myself in a good headspace, and just blast it, just relax with it. I'm having so much fun doing vocals now, but it takes practice, and I feel it's like trial and error. You might do a gig and be like, that didn't feel right. I need to make sure I do something differently. You
Right.
condition your voice to like kind of be like, nope, that's not where it should be. Find something else.
Now, let me ask you, as far as recording the new album is concerned, you said it's probably about 22 minutes long. How long of a recording process was it?
So the initial all the instrumentation took a weekend, I think. Yeah, it was a full weekend. We do obviously you get all the drums down first, and that takes time. And then it's guitars. So initially we get the foundation down in a weekend, and then we like listen back to that and think, right, how do we flesh this out? There was a lot of things that we got the basics of the album down, and we're like, right, now we need to build like a bigger world, a bigger sound. I said before about the transitions between songs. We had extra studio sessions just to make wild guitar sounds, like loads of different guitar pedals running through each other, and just trying to build a bit of a more atmosphere around the
Gotcha.
songs. The whole process, I think we must realistically have done about 4 days in the studio. Thankfully, like the songs are quite short. The rest is just fleshing it out. And I'd like to not to toot our own trumpet, but thankfully we play quite tight, so we use our time wisely.
Gotcha.
Um, we've just recorded another 8 tracks to follow up the album, and we've done it in about 3 sessions. We're going back for another session just to polish it up. But yeah, I think we found our momentum now. 2 or 3 days is going to get most of it down, but the album is about 4 or 5.
Now, we talked briefly before we came on air about like the music scene there where you're at, where you're
Mm-hmm.
located in the UK, as well as some other state. Like here, it would be states where you're at. It's like countries. My wife was born in Germany. She says how like everything is like a state of like we do states here. Your countries are so close together that it's nothing to
Yeah.
go through. And like how many countries have you guys played in? Like, how closely knitted is all that there for anybody that might not have been to Europe?
Yeah, so going off, we haven't been out of the UK yet. We've just recently got a booking agent who deals with bookings in the UK and Europe. So
Nice.
Europe's definitely is next in line basically. Previously though, I've played with another band. We did a couple of weeks around Europe, and I also I've been to America before to sell merch for a friend's band over there. So I to compare driving around America and driving around Europe, it probably still feels longer driving around different states in America than it does getting to different places in Europe. You can probably get to other countries around Europe faster than you can get to other
Yeah.
states. But I mean, I think that's one thing I've noticed here. Like people think there are long drives or long journeys to shows, and they're not. They're not really compared to like the States. We can get around pretty swiftly.
Now, is there a favorite place that you like to go check out shows?
Um, uh, so I moved to Manchester, which is a city in the UK. It was quite, it's busy. It's got a lot of good shows going on. When I wasn't living in Manchester, I would always come to Manchester. It was like the closest city that any touring band would kind of like in the north of the UK. It would be the closest city for me to get access to. But I mean, I'm one of those, if it's not too far away, if it's a band I want to see, I don't mind traveling. I think it's worth going to show your support.
Yeah,
But
I
I think yeah,
mean,
I'm Manchester. Definitely Manchester. I love Manchester.
now leading into you guys doing what you do, Jake, who did you grow up watching? Who did you grow up getting inspiration from? Like, what are your go-to bands?
My go-to, it kind of obviously as when I was younger, my introduction to heavy music started with bands like Slipknot, quite mainstream heavy bands that you would see on Scuzz, you'd see on Kerrang, you could see on the music channels. Uh, I was quite, I was quite into like a lot of emo music when I was in high school, and I think through that kind of like My Chemical Romance, 30 Seconds to Mars, I kind of started shifting. I remember the first time I heard screaming vocals, I was like, what the fuck is this noise? Like, I don't understand a word. And I hated it. At first, I absolutely hated it. I was just like, this is unbearable. And then I remember I must have gone back to it a couple of days later and been like, oh, wait a minute, that's like, when you start really taking it apart and listening to it, I was like, wow, this is actually really good. Um, but uh, bands like Bring Me the Horizon over in the UK, A Day to Remember, these were all bands that I was listening to through high school and college. And then my taste only got heavier and heavier. Parkway Drive, who else? These are all bands that I feel like, are quite like well known. And then as I've got older and older, my taste has become a little bit more obscure and like kind of like uh I like lots of different heavy bands and lots of different subgenres of heavy music. But growing up, I think Slipknot is probably one of the first ones I was just like, yeah, this is me. Like this is what I like.
Yeah, man. Uh, somebody put Shoe is looking good, man. Uh, not sure what the comments heading at.
Shoe.
Shoe.
I've not got shoes on.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, there's something that can be said for metalheads, for people that are show is looking good.
Nah, I got you. I got you.
But somebody, I mean, as far as listening to heavy music, and I remember when I was younger, my parents hated it, and
Yeah,
like I grew up with. I'm obviously older than you are, but with the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest,
yeah,
Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, those types of bands, and the sound has evolved. The sound has changed a lot.
yeah,
My son has showed me recently. I have a I have a 26-year-old son that just showed me recently that a lot of hip hop artists are kind of gearing towards heavy music now, and it's like
yeah.
really really cool to see what's going
Hmm.
on there. There's
I
such a
love.
movement for metal music right now. It's insane.
There is I recommend there's a festival that's going on over in the UK happening in Manchester every year. It's called Outbreak. And this year they've announced their biggest lineup. And usually it's explicitly just heavy, hardcore, big metal bands and stuff. Last year it was headlined by Turnstile, by Deaf Haven. This year, however, they've done a massive crossover, and there's a load of hip hop and there's a load of metal and hardcore. And some people have kind of like turned the nose up at it, but I think it's great. I think it's fantastic. Some of the most fun shows we play are mixed bills because I love to see variety, and I love to see all sorts of different talent. Um, I think it's exciting. And I do think, hip hop and hardcore and heavy music, they do kind of have some similarities in certain things. I think it's good to see. I think it's nice to see that they're starting to like blur the lines between, all this genre-defined music. I guess is
I remember when Ice Cube came or Ice T came out with Body
yeah,
Count, and everybody
yeah,
like flipped out over Body Count, and
yeah,
like it was a sound that like I feel like we're going towards finally. I mean, we're talking Body Count was 20, 30 years ago now, so
yeah.
it's insane. But I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've never been over where you're at. I only see things on my side of the pond.
Of
Is
course.
how is people's acceptance of music over there? Here, I can't stand it. I'll be honest with you. We do a lot of country and pop, and that's about
Yeah.
all. That's what sells out our stadiums. And I look
Uh-huh.
over to you guys, and you guys have massive metal shows or festivals and things that kind of put us to shame. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
what
that's,
is the acceptance like over there?
you see, to be on the other side of that, I feel like it must be something that you experience, obviously being where you are, because I know for a fact sometimes there's tours or there's festivals that happen in the US that all of us over here are like, God, I wish the UK could get something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's the exact same feeling. Um, I know there was what was the festival that happened recently? I know there's a This Is Hardcore festival. I think that happens in Philadelphia, and yeah, I don't know. I feel like the acceptance of heavy music over here is again, it is still the outcast. It's
Of
still kind
course,
of some,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, obviously I understand that's always going to be the case, isn't it? But I would like to think that there is a market for it, and there is acceptance for it, and there is as you go from city to city, there's crowds that turn up for it, and it's also interesting to see how some of the heavy bands in the UK start emerging, but a lot of them seem to break through and go to the US. The main thing that a lot of them seem to do is try and break the US market and then start
Yeah.
touring over in America. But I think the acceptance is good. Like I say, I think for me, thankfully, being like as I say, a hardcore punk band, we're really embraced by a lot of the punk crowd in Manchester and over all around the UK. And there's punks, like the punk scene's just thriving, like, and they're everywhere. So it's good. I'm quite proud, to say that the UK is quite accepting of heavy music, more and more so as time goes on as well.
Now, as far as coming from the UK, and you guys pretty much created that genre of punk. I mean, that's where it came from. Bands like the
Yeah.
Sex Pistols, the Ramones, things like that. Are those bands kind of looked at as like godlike structure for you guys in punk music? Like, who do you guys look up to?
I guess they are quite like, like they could be like pioneers and such. But I think, thankfully, with going off, uh, so all five members, we've got such a mix of backgrounds and such a mix of influences, which I think is, thankfully, when that comes together, it's that mix that helps us create music that's kind of just takes influence from other different things. Because before being in going off, I didn't really listen to a lot of hardcore. I'd be listening to a lot of um like almost like black metal and stuff, and it's only through going off that I've started listening to more stuff that's probably in the same caliber as our sound. I feel like a lot of people do still look up to, like these pioneer punk bands though. But even more so these days, I noticed that a lot of people that are just looking up to bands that are around us right now. We're quite inspired to see a lot of the thriving emerging bands that are coming out of the UK.
Now, I know here in the States we have there's like a basement show kind of mentality that some punk bands have adopted, especially around the Philadelphia scene. Do you guys kind of do that over there as well?
As in, like, literally in basements.
Yeah, literally, like they'll have a couple punk bands over, three or four
uh,
bands,
in
and
like a
like
house show and stuff.
yeah, bottom line, and like that's kind of like the underground scene here as far as
Yeah,
punk.
there
Do you
is
guys
some deal.
do anything like
There's
that
some.
over there?
Yeah, it happens. I don't see it so much. We've been asked to play a house show before, but it never happened. But there is a good DIY scene, especially in hardcore and punk and stuff. Um, but it usually just happens still in like dingy venues, like run down venues and stuff. We played a few pub function rooms before, which has always been fun. Uh, like we'll drive to some town and we pull up at a pub and like, oh, I guess we're playing here, and it's like there's people in the other room, there's people drinking pints and watching the football, and then and then we're just like through double swinging doors, you just hear this screaming music coming out. But I think, it's still kind of like an underground kind of scene. But yeah, there will be basement shows and house shows still happening. But I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want to wreck my house.
Yeah, I hear you. Now, as far as the new album's concerned, it comes out, we said, a week from Friday, the 24th, which is awesome. Is this on a certain label, or are you guys signed to a label?
We're on Church Road Records, who are based over in the UK. That is Church Road Records is made up of Sammy and Justine, who are both members of a band called Employed to Serve.
Nice.
And they're doing really well. They're currently on tour with Gojira. And when we got the album together, I waited till I got like the last mix, and I said to the band, I was like, look, let's not just rush dropping this. I was like, I want to message a few labels, try and put the feelers out, and try and get us a bit more of a reach, try and get us some support. Thankfully, Church Road Records is a label that we'd built a relationship up with previously anyway. So they checked the album out, and then they picked it up. So yeah, the album's coming out through Church Road Records, but for anyone over in the US, I think it can be distributed through Death Wish.
Okay.
Yeah. So
awesome.
Church Roads have use Death Wish as their distribution in the US and Canada.
Now, with this new album coming out, do you guys have any definite like touring dates scheduled? Do you have any shows in support of this new album?
Yeah, we do. So this Friday, we go on 4 dates around the UK, and then we have a few days off whilst we all go back to work. And then the Friday that the album comes out, we have our release show in Manchester,
Nice.
which is almost sold out now, which is fantastic. And then we do a couple more dates. I'd like to think we're quite a busy band. We have about 7 dates in support of the album run, and then we have shows every month. Every month after, we've got shows most weekends. We're getting booked up more and more and more.
Gotcha.
So I feel like throughout this year we'll be able to hopefully promote the album continuously. But yeah, we've got a few shows this month just in support of the album.
Now, as far as trying to find Going Off on websites or social media or things along those lines, where can people find you guys at?
The social media platform that we use the most is Instagram. The handle is Going Off and then HC for hardcore. We do post to Facebook, but usually it's just it's an automatic shared post from Instagram. Instagram's the thing that we're most active on, but we've still got Bandcamp, Spotify. We're all on Apple Music, all the usual streaming platforms.
Nice.
But Instagram's the one that we post the most.
So, Jake, my last question for you before we close this out is: it's the kind of the beginning still of 2023. What is your hope or goal for Going Off for 2023?
Release the next EP. It's a hope, but it depends when the label say we can do it. But yeah, my hope is just to keep doing what we're doing, keep playing shows, keep speaking to lovely people like yourself, and keep getting to network and just keep doing what we're doing. I'm having such an incredible time in this band, and I just hope people enjoy the music and the messages behind it all.
Yeah, I know I absolutely do, man. And thank you so much for being with us tonight, man.
Oh, no, massively appreciated. Thank you.
And be sure, guys, to check out their album, Going Off's album, which is What Makes You Tick, coming out on the 24th, next Friday. Thank you so much, Jake.
Thank you, buddy. Take care.
Have a great week. So there it was, Jake from Going Off, man. It was a pleasure to speak with him late his time. We started this at 7 o'clock, which meant midnight their time. So really, really cool to talk to him. Like I said, we have a lot going on. We have the 5th anniversary of the Rock and Roll Union happening April 8th at Union Fire Hall with Sick Vicky, Carte Blanche, and Scorpio. Make sure you buy your tickets. They're available through Eventbrite. Talk to any of the bands involved. You can get tickets that way. Also, we are still taking deposits for any of the bands that want to be on the 5th anniversary Rock and Roll Union t-shirt. The price of that is only the cost of the shirt. It's $25. Get your logo on the shirt, get your copy of the shirt, and be a really cool thing, man. See who's with us for the 5th anniversary. I can't believe it's been 5 years already. Usually we have our birthday bash this month in February. Logistically, we had to push it back to April, but that's cool. Things happen. And a lot of good stuff going on. Make sure that you guys get out, check out Live Rock and Roll. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a thing. We got a lot going on. We'll be joined next week by the boys in Jersey Metal, the book that just got released a couple months back. Really, really cool book. Details the entire Jersey metal community. There's bands anywhere from national recording acts, Metallica, things like that, down to local club bands that played in the scene back in the day. I have quite a few friends that are in that book, and really, really cool book worth checking out. That, again, is Jersey Metal. They will be with us next week. So that about does it for us here at the Rock and Roll Union Streamcast, guys. And until next week, don't just leave it. Leave it better. Have a great night, everybody.